Hey everyone, on this week's YouTube video, I'm going to be discussing the concept of shifting as it pertains to upper body lifts, particularly the dumbbell row. On Saturday's Instagram anatomy post, I talked about the mistaken understanding of using the lat for shoulder stability. And by that I mean it's this constant cue of down and back, down and back, down and back. Well, if you start to look at the anatomy, you'll realize that this doesn't really make any sense at all. The lat has no good real estate on the scapula, on the shoulder blade. It attaches instead to the lumbar vertebrae, some of the thoracic spine, and a tiny little piece on the humerus. So it's really good at extending the spine, it's really good at pushing the rib cage forward, and it's really good at drawing the elbow back. But when it draws the elbow back, it then jams the shoulder complex forward. So now you're gonna get crushed ligaments and tendons as well as some muscles. So you're gonna have a lot of idiopathic shoulder and bicep problems as a result of this. Okay, so that's one of the things I want you to understand is that the middle and upper trap are going to play a significantly more prominent role in shoulder stabilization, and this is going to change the way that we fundamentally approach the vast majority of upper body lifts. So in this video, you're going to see what I do instead of cueing down and back and what that looks like on a dumbbell row. All right, so what this is going to look like from a close-up view, you're going to allow the weight to pull you into protraction. So now my shoulder blade is gliding forward. To start the row, you're going to retract the shoulder blade and allow it to elevate. And you're going to keep going until you feel it jam into your spine, like so. So it's not this, it's a retraction. It's a smooth retraction with a slight elevation. Once you get to that end range, you're going to pull from the elbow at a 90-degree angle, maintaining that scapular position. You're going to go as high as you can without losing rib cage, and then once you've got there, you can slowly lower the weight while maintaining that scapular position. Once your arm is straight, you can let go and let the weight gently pull you back into protraction. You're going to shift, get adductors, get hamstrings, pressure on the heel, this hip is dropped. You're going to hinge back. As you hinge back, you're going to place weight on the base of your palm. Fingers are pointed in. You are not going to lock out this elbow. You're going to keep it bent. From here, you're going to protract, push the rib cage away from the bench. So now you're feeling adductors, hamstrings, pressure on the heel, as well as serratus and obliques on the left. Okay? You're going to retract the right shoulder blade, elevate slightly, pull the elbow as high as you can, down, relax the shoulder blade. Again. I'm not allowing myself to shift away, so I'm not letting this happen, right? I'm staying centered over my support side, and I'm only really letting that scapula move with the arm following through. From the side, it's really the same thing. Shift, and from here you can see my right hip is in front and below. Hinge, retract, row, pull down. One of the things to keep in mind, if you were paying attention while I was doing the dumbbell rows, is that I really didn't allow my torso to rotate away as I was rowing. You'll see this very commonly in a lot of gyms when people are doing dumbbell rows. They'll get this rotation to kind of help with that pulling motion, but it really is counterproductive. If you're trying to keep that shoulder stabilized, if you're trying to allow upper and middle traps to do their job, and you're trying to limit a lot of unnecessary movement, all you're really doing with that motion is you're adding momentum, you're making it a lot easier. So you're going to have to do a lot more work in order to acquire some of those benefits that you would otherwise get from a rowing motion. Okay, so what you're doing with that protraction and what you're doing with that supporting arm is you are actually preventing this counter rotation from happening, so that the only thing that's really moving on your rows is that scapula and then of course the follow through with the rest of the arm. Okay, so keep this in mind as you're practicing and troubleshooting this movement, that if you're feeling your torso moving, if you can feel your sternum start to change where it's facing, you're allowing for too much rotation to happen at the torso. So this is how we apply the principles of shifting to a dumbbell row. The same setup can be applied for a cable row as well. Things start to get a little different when we bias in more of an overhead position. So when we start working on traditional Ys or on an overhead shoulder press, the mechanics are going to be slightly different, and I'll be talking about that in future weeks to come. But for now, if you have any questions on the setup or on execution, drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next week.